Today's video is an update on my original healer build. This can be used for PvP and PvE content, all of it. And today's will focus a bit more on different skill options, as well as providing updates on runes. Alright, welcome back guys. We have the healer update. This really is going to include our rune update and a little bit of gear update. So let's jump right into it. I'll show you again where I'm at right now and kind of where we're going. I'm pretty close to the where we're going actually. I'll go through stat breakdown real quick and what our targets are. Strength, obviously very high here. It is worth noting again, this build is primarily developed for PvP. It can be used for all PvE. It actually can be flexed to push more stats towards PvE if you wish. The only real stats you really probably would push towards it is wisdom. You still want to be tanky in PvE. You don't want to be a light target. You want to be able to survive certain mechanics that you can. As you get really, really high end, there's certain mechanics you either hit them or you're dead. But for the most part, you shouldn't be aiming for anything under 50 strength on a healer. But let's just go over it. 70 strength's our target point here. Wisdom will hit 40 when I finish my rune synergies. Perception 50, fortitude 30. So in update with the new rune synergies, we're pretty much pushing more towards fortitude, plus we changed one piece of gear really. This is a new set, Gilded Raven Mask. From this new set, we're taking the one piece, really because it's stat loaded. It has 4 strength, 4 fortitude. The mana regen's amazing. And it also has cooldown speed on its 3rd trait. So it's an absolutely phenomenal piece of armor. This gives us a medium with our 2 light, 2 heavy. It kind of blends our endurance, as this is really a full focus endurance build. We're not going evasion, we're going endurance. We are tanky across the board. We have lots of DR with endurance. So you're very tanky. Again, this will serve you very well and perfectly fine PvP and PvE as far as you want to go. So if you are pure PvE, which I know there are a lot of people, I've seen that on our last build, you can lean a bit more into wisdom. You know, you don't need 70 strength, especially if you're not like taking tanking. Like you could pull this back to, I don't know, 60 if you want. Throw more into wisdom. You just get more cooldown, a little more damage here. And we'll get into some of the skill options for PvE a little more now that I've seen that. But all in all, with this update, with the new stat of fortitude, we're pushing into this. 30 fortitude unlocks endurance. So this is giving us 100 endurance, which pairs very well with our bow passive, which also gives us endurance in conjunction with people in the group. So our endurance is on the move. It's going up. It's really helping our tankiness here. And endurance is basically reducing the enemy's crits or ability to crit. So that's pretty much where stats are. Let's jump into the equipment next. All right, as far as the equipment goes, not much changed from the first build I put out. Again, as mentioned, the Raven Mask is put in. I have officially moved and got some of these items on my character. I didn't have them in the first build video because the prices have come down significantly on virtually everything. Forsaken Embrace, very affordable to get now. Again, if you do PvE, you don't need Forsaken Embrace. You know, if you're mainly PvE focused, stay with Supreme Devotion. Great efficiency, good mana regen, cooldown, crit. It's great for all that. Forsaken is really gonna, it just adds DR and health. Other options, Blessed Templar Cloak. If you want to go collision resist, you should probably get Blessed Templar Cloak. That's about it on that. But anyway, we have the Raven Mask. Again, if you didn't see the first video, we pretty much run Carnix and this tome really for the invisibility. I do appreciate the invisibility from this, or from this tome. Some use the raid version, just gives strength and max mana. This one's a bit more stat loaded, but it also has a huge jump of crit chance. Okay, because we're not going dex. We're not really building dex. Might change when I go T2, but basically we're picking up pretty good crit chance between these two weapons. You would probably go Carnix either way. It's really the tome. I've seen other healer builds that really favor the raid tome, but I stick with this. Not only is it easy to get, affordable and cheap, but it is highly effective, and with good load of stats and being tanky, this is going to fire off and allow you. It's a get out of jail free card. every 2 minutes. And you can almost play into that. Kind of load yourself with hots in arenas. I do this frequently, and like get knocked into range to go invis and just recover out of a stun and jump back in the fight. You know, it's something you can kind of play in, and then you know you got 2 minutes till it's up again type thing. Beyond that, we're going to still do 2-piece Shock Commander. We got rid of the helm, so we're going to move it to the boots. Okay, so we'll have 2-piece here, and then we're still going to have 2-piece Ascended. So we have 2 light, 2 heavy, and 1 medium. This gives us a good spread of endurance for magic melee and the ranged. And then Clasp of the Conqueror down here, very easy to get. Bracers of the Primal King, very easy. Sapphire Dimensional, these are all super easy to get. Band of Universal Power, it's going to cost a little bit, but that's dropped in prices in a huge way with the new transmutation system. So this is so much more affordable to get. This is the most expensive thing to get here. Belt of Bloodlust has dropped in a huge way. So like a lot of this is very affordable to get now, Lucent wise. So that's pretty much where we're at with equipment. I mean, if you don't want to go these stat breakpoints in this equipment, the only other way I would see is there is other endurance equipment. Like there's an endurance neck, bracer, and belt. But that would drop you down like 13 or 11 stat points. I'm going for like kind of the stat point load. It also stays pretty close to what I already had gear-wise and already had invested in. These breakpoints are pretty phenomenal to be able to hit 70, 40, 50, 30. It's just stat juiced. We still keep the range from perception here. We have just enough perception really to do... We don't do a ton here, but we might either AoE sleep or single target sleep and mark people. That's kind of it from perception, other than the other stat effects we get from it. Wisdom, we cut back on so we could go into Fortitude, but Fortitude, the 30 points, not only unlocks the 100 endurance, but it builds endurance as it goes up, or endurance, as I've been taught to say. And then strength, yeah, being at 70 in conjunction with our rune synergies. I guess that's the other thing we should really cover here is the rune synergies. And again, these can kind of flex depending on what you do. Again, for the more PvE focused crowd, there's things we can interchange here. Like you can straight up use a lot of boss things for PvE. In fact, you can pull them in and out. It's really like once you unlock the slots, you're good. Like if you don't do PvP, you might not even want to go some of the things I go here. Like crit hit damage reduction, you don't need this for PvE only. But this is what I'm doing again for my stat breakpoints. You can flex things, and you should. I recommend people flex things for whatever your purpose is. But overall, this is generally the target. This will be linked down in the description so you can access which rune specifically I'm doing. And these could change in the future. I might test things and might flip in endurance for some of these, rather than the max health. But for now, max health, and you're probably going to look upwards of 20k max health with these synergies now in play from the runes. But rather than go through and discuss these, they're pretty self-explanatory. We really lean into a lot of defensive stuff here with a lot of the runes. But the synergies, once you get them all blue, you'll hit these breakpoints. And the sacrifices you'll want to make along the way is probably into wisdom. That'll probably be the last thing that comes up. Again, hitting 70 strength's really big. Hitting 50 perception I always like to keep. And now hitting 30 fortitude is really good for your survival. So as the one thing you want to sacrifice probably is wisdom on the come up, really. Again, unless you're focused on PvE. But this is pretty much where the gear's at. All very affordable. Use the link in the description to really kind of narrow down and see what exactly we do trait-wise and everything, rather than me go through it here in the video. Alright, next up, I'm going to go through skills. I'm going to show you my base healing bar and then some other various options you can use depending on the scenario. There are a lot of potential spots you can move things around, but I'd say generally 90% of the healing bar you want to not move around as far as specializations go, things of that nature. You'll have a couple flex spots, but again, it really depends what you're doing. This bar you can pretty much use for all PvP and as a pure healer for PvE dungeons. If you want to get more specialized again and add more value, there's things you can do, and I will kind of discuss that. So let's go ahead and get started and kind of just jump through some skills. I'm going to kind of explain roughly what they do here, and what we're looking at. For those that are a bit more new, because there are a lot of people just kind of starting off with healing, Tome is basically your burst healing. You have a lot of defensive mitigation options too. And the bow is more heal over time. It took a nerf some patch ago where we basically can't use these two heals together, swift healing and healing touch. I still keep healing touch on bar. I'll kind of explain why, where we use which ones. But this is pretty much, again, you can use this for everything. So let's jump into it. So swift healing, this is your burst heal. This is your main heal. This is the tome heal. As far as specializations go with this one, we are looking at these three. I would pretty much always keep these. We have the increased range. The people you're healing are going to be all over the goddamn place. So this is always good to have. Can be used up to 3 times instead of 2 times. And then the other option here is basically when we heal somebody, we will also get healed. So if I'm targeting a guy over here to heal him, I could still receive a heal. And again, we can use this 3 times. Worth noting with this, as you cast this up to 3 times, it uses a lot more mana. So you'll see it ends up using, with my efficiency, still upwards of like 1200 mana. It's pretty expensive. That's why I don't like to use it to, say, top people off. Plus, it's got a longer cooldown, right? Our other heal here from the bow, much shorter cooldown. It's a heal over time. The problem is once I use it, I can't burst heal somebody in that window. This is where you'll have to, as a healer, learn when can I just use this quick heal over time to top someone off, right? Versus using a burst heal. And a lot of times when all my skills are up, say in PvP, I will start off using these hots and kind of play reactively based on what the enemy's going to do. If I have hots running on me and I get jumped on right now, I have a heal over time already running. There's other options that we can use to pretty much stack up defenses for PvP. That's a bit more advanced. If I know someone's coming in, they're about to jump on me, and I'm running this heal over time right now, I could also put this up to heal over time and defensive. And now they could go to town on me, but I'm going to continuously heal to full while I'm, say, stun locked for, I don't know, 5 to 8 seconds, as you do in Throne and Liberty. So worth noting, with Healing Touch, I've pretty much removed everything from the skill specialization since they made the changes where you can't keep this up continuously. Sometimes I'll put 3 points here in certain setups, maybe when I'm in Arena when I have nothing left to spend it on, because I do a lot of hot stacking in Arena. But part of the reason we're using Healing Touch, which is worth explaining, is its relationship with Nature's Blessing. By itself, it just does this hot, which isn't bad, and of course it can stack up to 3 times. So instead of 300 a second, 600, and then it'll go to 900 a second here, whatever your stats are. But with Nature's Blessing is basically a buff for you and the group. It just gives not only a short window of mana regen, but health regen too. But with the specialization of Nature's Blessing, Vitality, it's going to supercharge this and work in tandem with Healing Touch. So it becomes something where you get a ton of regen here. I'm just losing some health so you can see. Here's Healing Touch and my regen, but when I pop that, you can see how quickly it's going now. So I do stuff like this in the arena, where I have Healing Touch, and say they jump on a damage dealer of mine, we can use this skill, which we haven't explained yet, Purifying Touch, and what that's going to do is lift that stun immediately. It removes that debuff, that stun debuff, and what it does is it gives him this buff of Healing Touch too. That's in our specialization here, okay? So if we hop in here, Purifying Touch is pretty loaded on specialization. Has a chance to remove an additional buff because people get massively debuffed in Arena. Much lower cooldown here with this, worth taking. And then applies the Healing Touch, as I was just describing. And what it really does is just removes debuffs. It gives attack speed to them as well. But if you can envision that, we have Healing Touch running on them. I just removed a debuff from them, and gave them healing touch. Now if I pop this regen, we're both getting supercharged regen for a second. So what happens a lot in Arena, if I'm running with a hot on myself, kind of a selfish safety protection buff, if I'm going to get jumped, I'm kind of watching their DPS, aware of it. But if they jump one of my guys, I'm immediately lifting that stun off him. Usually I keep this AoE here and I give us both, you know, some heavy tankiness, and then I pop this supercharged regen. And I haven't needed to use my burst heal. By the time I need to use my burst heal, it will be up. But the regen will carry both of us for a window. That is a big part of the reason I use that. That explains one of our skills, which should always be in play. And I use this in PvE as well. Purifying Touch is good. Very necessary for some mechanics. But same thing, you can give, your tank gets hit with a stun or he gets hit with a burning dot. Just lift it. It gives them attack speed, but it also like works in conjunction to use as a heal with Nature's Blessing. So that's still in play in PvE as well. That pretty much covers these two skills. They're both bow skills. Let's jump to these two. These two are mitigation skills. So Invincible Wall, pretty much always you're going to specialize Invincible Wall. I don't have any example I really use it without targets expanded. This is basically fake HP or however you want to call it from whatever MMO you've played. But this is just going to give us a shield, a barrier, some extra fluff on top of our health bar. Absolutely necessary for a lot of PvE content. Wonderful in PvP for obvious reasons. This is a group buff, but there's a lot of cases in PvE where we want to group people up and pop barrier. To use in conjunction with it can be Blessed Barrier. Now this can be used AoE or single target, and there are times, basically super massive PvP, I don't even bother using this in AoE. Massive PvP, people are everywhere. So that's the AoE version. It looks like that. And that's pretty much the targets expanded option here. Sometimes I use it without the targets expanded, and that's really just mass PvP, maybe PvE. Although PvE, I'll usually use the Fighting Spirit, usually, and buff somebody. We'll come back to that. AoE one's good for arenas, why I just showed you. Someone's getting focused, you can take care of them while you take care of yourself. People try to come on you, you want to waste their time. You want to be the tankiest option on your team. You want to be the last thing that they waste their time attacking. The way you do that is by, you know, keeping these buffs still in play on yourself. But this extra mitigation can be used again as well with barrier. So leverage Blessed Barrier on really whatever they're focused on. You can use the single target, same thing. It also increases the healing done on people here by day, and by night it increases endurance. Or endurance. What do we got next here? These two are pretty self-explanatory. I can come back to Fighting Spirit, but I'll showcase this when I show another PvE bar that I kind of use, but we can flip this into a damage buff too. Pretty effective for PvE. Special cases for PvP too. For the most part for PvP, you should still keep it, even if it's just single target. Again, it's a barrier, it's a super juicer for healing. It's effective there. Clay's Salvation is your AoE group heal. This is a tome skill. Very good for what it does. Very straightforward. We do have good options here in specialization. We have the weaken removal, which I do take a lot. I actually take a lot of weaken removals for PvP. A lot of people stacking weakens, and some of the classes, some of the dagger staff combos especially stack a ton of weakens, and you can play around removing like the healing debuffs so you can actually heal your team. When you can't heal them is exactly the case of times you want to use barrier and invincible wall, and you instead offer the mitigation while you wait for those debuffs to fade. This is pretty good. Clay Salve for PvE purposes, sometimes I'll keep the heal, but other times I've been taking this, especially for rune dungeons. This is basically a boost the whole group's damage. So you'll see this in conjunction with that last buff I was just talking about. I'll showcase that in a second too. For the most part, for healing, you generally want to use Clay Salvation. There's a lot of dungeons you want to use this, especially pug groups. The offensive buff stuff you really shouldn't be messing with until you have a comfortable group or people that you know that you're familiar with. You know what they can take. Otherwise, I suggest getting as much defensive stuff on your bar as you can for the people you're healing. The range increase isn't bad here. Sometimes you're going to have leftover slot. It's only 3 points because this one can be tough to center and hit everybody with. The range increase is actually pretty good on Clay Salvation. I don't have it here. Sometimes I do. It depends kind of what I'm doing. Reference the website for general builds. Purifying Touch we already went through, so this is pretty much just a single target. It removes debuffs. It lifts CCs. That is its big, what's really huge about it. But it'll purge off whatever. Like if they have burning stacks, it lifts them. These are much better since they changed how stacks work. They don't lift just one stack. They remove the entire debuff. I like having the chance to remove an additional debuff. Sometimes they're stunned with a healing debuff. I can lift 2. Sometimes, again, I'll Purifying Touch. Maybe I get 2 debuffs plus Nature's Blessing could give me 3. I really watch debuffs while I'm healing in the arena. And then again, I have even another one on Clay Salvation. There are some times I'm not going to be able to remove all the debuffs from people, but if you can counter certain DPS's windows up front and they get, you just mess up their combos, they're kind of screwed. And that's all it takes sometimes, just to ruin them. Fountain of Life is a wonderful AoE heal. We'll jump into the specialization, but this is pretty much a heal over time. This is kicking up one of our passes, which I love to use it for. Selfless Soul increases mana regen and skill heal per stack. It pretty much maxes this out all the time. Great to put down on just any DPS. For PvP, for PvE, I use this selfishly in PvE or PvP a lot. So if I see damage dealers are coming at me, again, I'm already running this hot. I see like a dagger cloaked with a greatsword coming at me. I'm probably going to shield myself and drop this and just say, come at me, bro. Let him run through the front end of his combo, and he's put a lot of his stuff on cooldown. I still have other things left, like my Purification Stone. I'll save for maybe the next go of things, and the next go, I'll have some of these skills up again. So you really need to work counters, just test things out, again, for PvP. These 2 slots are pretty much what I call my flex spots. Like for PvP, I usually have sleep here. Okay, so if you put sleep in, for PvP, this will say that dagger guy unloads everything on me, and then I come out of the stun, and now I can put him to sleep. When I put sleep on, usually we get Enhanced Nightmare. It's the second option here. There's a slow, which isn't bad too. Generally wouldn't use that unless we're in mass PvP. Enhanced Nightmare is pretty much going to put them to sleep right away. This can be used in mass PvP in conjunction with Karmic Haze, okay, with range increase. So these kind of go together a lot. But in Arena, we just use single target Cursed Nightmare. We can take the Enhanced Nightmare. We're good. We can sleep a target quickly. Boom. Your other flex spot can be a variety of things. Given there's a lot of people in the evasion meta, I take Deadly Marker personally, and I assist my damage dealers. I put Deadly Marker on them, okay, with increased hit chance. Deadly Marker maxed out, which mine isn't entirely, will get up to 240 hit chance. It also boosts critical hit chance. For PvP, the hit chance we really love. With that skill specialization, it's an extra 150. It's about 400 increase of hit chance. That's huge. Your damage dealers will love you for that, okay? So, for people that go evasion builds, this is a really effective counter there. What else do we have? So these are our 2 flex spots. These can flex again for PvE. I have Time for Punishment. Almost forgot. Time for Punishment is what I use for PvE. This could also be used in PvP too. This reduces skill damage resist. We can increase the duration. Don't need to, but we can. I would increase the duration if I used Enchanting Time, which Enchanting Time is very effective if you have a very specific damage dealer you want to amp up, like a really good crossbow dagger. What you're going to do is use Enchanting Time in conjunction with Fighting Spirit. You're going to target that guy, and you're going to juice him with these. It's going to super boost his skill damage, and then his max damage. And we still have Janus's Rage. These are pretty much the 3 ways you can become this pocket buffer. If you got a group of friends or a buddy you play with, and you have a real strong... Again, generally like a crossbow dagger, these buffs will really, really shine on them, and can be used for PvE. But if no one else is really lowering the target's skill damage resist, that's what you can be. So if no one else has Time for Punishment, put it up on a target. The whole group benefits versus Enchanting Time, which is only going to benefit one person, okay? So again, these are our flex spots. That's one option. Sometime for mass PvP, we can have the sleep in conjunction with Karmic Haze. If you wanted to use Tornado, I don't really Tornado, okay? As a healer, I'm not chilling around using Tornado on people. I'm just not. It's not my jam. I'm in the back. I don't want to be in the kill zone and get stunned because then I can't heal people, okay? It's just, I've used it before in Korea. I've enjoyed not using it here, okay? Plus, your hit's not that high. You're not specialized. Leave that to the bow and staff guys, in my opinion, but you can do what you want. So again, these are flex spots. So everything else on this bar, for your pure healer, you should really be running. Nature's Blessing, we already covered. Okay, this was our other bow build. And lastly, we have 2 more bow skills. Flash Wave, everyone's favorite skill in the game, okay? But we're using it not for damage, although it still does good damage. We're using it for the heal, okay? You want to hit people for healing. So we have Flash Wave, and then we have the effect duration increase, okay? Not for flash arrow stun, but for the continuous heal recovery in conjunction with our extended recovery time, or I'm sorry, our extended buff duration as we focus with a healer. That was about 14 seconds, so 13 and change, but it'll get up to about 14 or so seconds with that specialization. That's a real nice heal over time. That's a lot. You definitely want that skill. So this is a very strong heal over time, okay? So that's Flash Wave. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's huge. Hit everybody in your group with it. In PvE, you really want to focus this before heavy-duty phases. Phases where people are going to take damage, like Kurtaki, the giant lizard, shoots down some fireballs. People are about to get hit by it. Put that stuff up right before you know that phase is coming. And as soon as people start getting hit by the fireballs that they refuse to dodge and they start burning, you know you're going to have to top these guys off. Well, Flash Wave's already starting to do some work for you. So you'll start to learn some fights in PvE. You use Flash Wave to start preemptively healing people before these phases. So, like, again, let's say Turka or whatever does his giant AoE stomp, and you have to put up barrier on your whole group so you can mitigate it. Well, you could Flash Wave before that. When you know it's about to happen, be like, hey, it's going to happen next 5-10 seconds. Put up the Flash Wave. Then put up the barrier. As soon as the barrier hits, everyone's going to get chunked. The real low health people are going to be below half health. Well, that Flash Wave is already riding, right? And then you finish topping them off with like Clay's Salvation. But the Flash Wave is already riding. Last but not least, we have Blitz. Blitz is excellent. Different uses, different places. But for the most part, for PvE, I blitz deadly marks, okay? I'm going to showcase a little video real quick to show you what that looks like, because it's very nice. But you can use blitz like PvP. I rarely blitz anything, but like in arenas, like sometimes if like I'm running low on mana, it's like a real mana intense arena, I might blitz Fountain of Life or Nature's Blessing and use them super selfishly, but that's only if I can keep people in them. You could also blitz a Flash Wave, so you Flash Wave up front, it lasts a while, just blitz it, use it as it's coming off cooldown. It's a very strong heal over time. Depends what you're healing in arena. Regardless, it's so worth using for a variety of reasons, right? Like I could barrier people and then blitz it and barrier them again. Like there's different things you can do with blitz. Learn to use it. This is a great skill to use. Mine's not maxed. I am leveling a variety of weapons, but I'll probably max this. This is super worth maxing, by the way. It gets down to 60 seconds. The cooldown reduction on Blitz is real nice. But real quick, I'll show you for PvE. And I'll have a PvE bar as well. But I just kind of wanted to show what blitzing deadly marks looks like in PvP. Is I don't see a lot of people do it when I play. I have a damage dealer alt. I'll put this in slow-mo a little for you. But so this is at half speed too. And you can see what it looks like and generally what I'm doing. And this is with some of my buff bars too, right? I have Janice's Rage here. So we just come up to, and it's just a mini boss here. I immediately debuff, the skill damage, and we put a deadly mark on it right up front. So deadly mark is a 24-second cooldown with my build right now, with whatever stats I have on, right? I immediately blitz it. I deadly mark it again. Seems good. It's worth noting deadly mark is also reducing the cooldown of everyone in the group. So what I'm experiencing here is what they're experiencing. And what I'm trying to show you is look at the cooldowns, okay? the cooldowns are insane. Okay, this is at half speed, and things at basically as people crit the mob, your cooldowns are just coming down dramatically. To the point that my deadly marker that was originally 24 seconds just came up at 14 seconds. I cast it at 4. So it was about 10 seconds. So it wasn't 24-second cooldown. It was about a 10-second cooldown. That's how impactful it is. But why does this matter even for someone like me? It lets me front load even more debuffs and buffs. And my buffs I get to keep up like full time. I put up a group buff, Janice's Rage. I put up the max damage buff on someone. And you can see how quickly it's coming back up. I don't care about my damage. I'm really caring. I have some damage skills here, but I'm really focused on, I already have another new deadly mark on it, right? And like I've already put up my buff for my teammate again. I'm also running regens, right? Like, because crossbow daggers will just burn through mana. So I'm dumping extra mana regen, a second blessing already. And you see, I'll play it back in just normal speed, and you can just see the cooldowns on the bottom at normal speed. This is what you want to do with Deadly Mark in PvE. Find the burst windows on mobs, put up Deadly Mark, blitz it, put up a Deadly Mark. And this is going to help your whole group. They're going to chunk through their burst windows too. This is your job as a healer. First to heal, but as you get healing down pat, add value. You can always Deadly Mark blitz, and you really should be. So try to add value to your groups as healers. First cover healing, but as you nail down the basics of healing, try to add value where you can. You know, when you stop needing to group heal, you know, you can swap things in like Janice's Rage and find good damage dealers to buff. So try to find the opportunities you can as a healer to just add as much value. That's what I like to do. That's a real long deep dive on skills, but it really shows you all the different options and things you can do, PvP and PvP wise. All right, last but not least, just going to show what I showed in my original build video for people that didn't see that. You can AoE solo dungeons very easily. Bar looks like this. Skill specializations I'm not really going to go through. This is what I use if I just quest or if I want to solo in Abyssals and AoE. That's really because Chaotic Shield, if you land perfect blocks, this is a very strong skill. Once you perfect block, you hit the block again on yourself and it heals you while simultaneously cursing the enemy. And it just makes AoEing unbelievably easy on any build with a tome. If you have a tome, you can solo anything AoE. So like I do this with a spear. I've been leveling spear. But for the purposes of our video, this is it with longbow and tome. Just pull stuff together, okay? And this dungeon's easy. You really need fury attacks. Once you have it, see, perfect, boom. Perfect, boom. And we're just hitting the perfects, and we're hitting it again to heal ourselves. I'm not even using the skills yet, but basically I can drop this. In our case here, I can do AoE, arrow, and blitz that. It's going to do some pretty heavy AoE damage. Ultimately, though, you're stacking curses on them, and you want to hit Curse Explosion as well. We have a heal. If you mess this up, you have multiple heals built into this build. You get to go invisible if you get low health. This build drives itself in what you're seeing right here. All right, it's very easy. You could literally accidentally, as long as you hit the perfect blocks, man, just hit certain buttons on the keyboard and you're gonna win with this thing. All right, and Abyssals is not hard. The problems are when you get chain stunned and or chain feared. That's about it. This dungeon is easy as hell, mainly because of those assassins. The assassins spam furies, so it's very easy to counter. I just kind of want to showcase that to people too, so they know. Very easy to level and do whatever PvE wise. You're an indestructible force that never runs out of resources. That is the name of the game. So that's pretty much it. Use the link in the description to see the build. I will keep that updated, and if I play with runes that I really like, I might not update the build, but I'll update the link at all times. You can always come in and ask me in Twitch or in the Discord. I stream as a full-time streamer. Ask in the comments, please, and always, please subscribe to the channel and see other updates we do. I will do other builds too and other probably heal variations. I'm looking at doing a sword and shield with tome as well that I pretty much use to solo dungeons. I think a lot of people may enjoy that. The community certainly could use more of them. So, but anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. Hope this build helps you. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, anything I missed. Happy to answer. Feel free. Just let me know. Thank you, guys.